In this video, I want to talk about a formidable foe that you'll be encountering at some point during your journey in Starfield, and that you will definitely quickly encounter if you choose to join the United Colonies Vanguard early on. And this foe is one of the settled systems' known alpha predators. It's called the Terrormorphs. Now, you probably won't hear much about these beasts if you stick to mundane activities such as, for example, doing deliveries or transporting passengers or fetching objects, but if you join the UC Vanguard, you will be very quickly introduced to them. In fact, during the recruitment process, as you get to discover the lore of the game in the museum you have to go through, you will encounter a life-size model of the species, along with a summary of the tragic interaction we've had with the species. In fact, we learn that these Terrormorphs once overran an entire colony, Londinium, and that the entire planet had to be abandoned, with fears of the species being transported off-world to other colonies. All of that seemed rather distant to me until I happened to encounter one of my first during a mission, actually during my very first mission for the UC Vanguard, and let me tell you that these things are seriously tough. Under constant fire from me, it took over 5 minutes to die, and if it wasn't for the blast of a fuel tank and some automated turrets, it would have taken even longer. I can only imagine how much harder it would have been if there haven't been any of these turrets here firing over there. Anyway, that being said, I learned a thing or two from that fight, and I'm going to share all of that with you. Number one, these things borrow. Now, yes, so don't take too much space between them and you. It's pretty much useless. You will not be able to see them, so avoid long or even mid-range weapons. They're just not that effective. If they're too far from you, they'll just go on the ground and pop up somewhere much closer. Number two, I noticed that they are vulnerable to explosions, so use grenades, concussion weapons, or basically anything that can make explosions. For example, if you see any nearby fuel tanks, just blow them up when the beast is near. I noticed that this took out quite a few hit points of its health bar. And number three, I also noticed that Terrormorphs are vulnerable to corrosion, so if you happen to have by any chance any corrosive projectile, don't hesitate to throw all of them at them. This is seriously going to drain their health bar much more than things like energy weapons, which I thought was quite ineffective against them. Now, there are a couple of other things I'd like to talk about Terrormorphs that you guys should know. Not all Terrormorphs are the same. You've got albino Terrormorphs, regular Terrormorphs, stronger Terrormorphs. They have different levels as well, so they're not all going to be the same level too. The lower levels are going to be easier to kill, but if you find Terrormorphs that have levels that are higher than you, sometimes 4 or 6 levels higher than you, then these ones are going to be the tough ones. Some Terrormorphs also use pheromones to try to influence human beings and other beings to fight on their behalf, and it's actually quite an interesting experience. There is one mission where this is happening, and do not bring anyone who is too weak-minded. It's basically like a Jedi mind trick, but on a much scarier scale. So do not bring anyone who think, oh yeah, I'm fine, I'm not going to be affected by the pheromones. That's probably not going to happen. Actually, they are going to be affected, and they will eventually fight you, so you'll be wasting your time. It's best to just go along with, maybe, for example, if you have the chance to bring Vasco, your robotic character. He's a robot, so he's not going to be affected by pheromones. That perhaps could be your best ally. So next, to finish the video, where are Terrormorphs from, and where do they appear? To make it short, as of right now, at least in my playthrough, we don't know. They apparently, according to the scientists who were working on them that you get to encounter in the game, they appear on planets that have been settled for several generations, and they tend to be attacking more and more, so that's kind of a mystery, but usually they don't appear on planets that have been recently colonized until recently, where there have been an attack on Tau Ceti. So that's basically, you should be able to be expecting to have Terrormorphs in pretty much every planet where humans are, but As far as I'm concerned, I've only experienced this kind of interaction only a few times and during select missions, so they're not going to be around the corner every time. Now, another thing that I'd like to talk about Terrormorphs before we finish here is that there's also been an experiment made by the United Colonies during the Colony Wars where the UC tried to use Terrormorphs as weapons against other factions, and this did not work so well. Not only was this completely unsuccessful, the UC have not been able to tame the Terrormorph, but on top of that, the other factions were aware of that, and they tend to be resenting the UC for doing such monstrous, for having such monstrous plans. So that's also one of the reasons in the lore why the House Varun and also the Freestar Collective are not really on good terms with the United Colonies, because they see them as an evil power due to all of those experiments that have been done in the past. So there we have it, guys. This is what you had to know about Terrormorphs, the alpha predator of the Starfield universe, and quite a formidable foe indeed. But let me know in the comment section down below, have you had to fight those monsters yet? How do you fight those monsters? Did you like fighting those monsters? Actually, turned out that I liked it much more than I had anticipated, but maybe you guys didn't like the idea. Maybe you didn't like the fact that humans turn into zombies when they are affected by the pheromones. Well, I'd like to know what your thoughts are. Anyway, guys, that is all for this video. If you want to see more Starfield content, let me know in the comment section down below as well. I've seen quite a few people telling me that you guys want to see more of that, so I'm definitely going to do so too. Shout out to all the people who support this channel on Patreon. If I got YouTube membership program, including Dr. Fabin, Zero Crusher, and Deplorable Infidel. I've been Irad. I'll see you guys in the next one.